onto Facebook. So we'll post that after. But would it be okay to call you Maria? Would you like me to call you Miss Anderson-Contreras? What do you prefer?
Well, my husband calls me Miss Kitten, so you can call me that. You can call me what you want. Maria's fine.
Okay, thank you, Maria. We are so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
I'm really honored.
Yes, I'd like to share with my listeners just how we connected. Miss Maria and I are in the same Facebook group called Happiness from Within, and that's just something that I know I've been seeking just so many different tools and avenues to find happiness and create it. And I was so fortunate to link up with you on there.
Cool.
Yes.
So, happiness from within is a very good subject.
Yes, it is. And I have created this space called Living Brightly with Depression as a place to go and just build people up. I personally do not have depression, but my husband does. So the last 15 years, we've been collecting tools and working through ways to help him naturally because he did not like medication. And so today on Tuesday, I call it Treat Yourself Tuesday, and we're focusing on emotional wellness and self-care.
Cool.
So Miss Maria, I'd love to hear your story. I know you have so much to you that I don't even know. So you can pick part of your story or all of your story or whatever you like to share with us.
Sorry, I'm laughing because you're calling me. You're calling me Miss Maria. That's really funny. So that's okay. You can call me Maria.
Okay.
Yeah, I call myself Pandita as well. That's another name. I've got lots of names, but Maria's okay for now. So talk about myself. Okay, so I was born into a military dictatorship, which was all about fear. And then my father was unfortunately one of the disappeared. And so we had to come to England to safety when I was 6 years old. And so then I came here and I couldn't speak English. And I was that kid that just sat there doing this. But back in when I was young, there wasn't so much support, I think, maybe like there is now. So I was just put into the little foreign children's English classes, and that was the only extra support that I received. And so I never received professional support to deal with trauma, war child, or counselling or anything like that. And because my family, my mother and my brother, were traumatized probably a lot more than me because they were older, they were not able to give me the support that really I needed at the time. So I had to be my own soul guide.
Wow.
And I had to just figure it out myself. And so I remember doing something I still love doing today. I used to look at the clouds and just look at the clouds and wonder things like the big existential questions, like, if there's a God, why did he do that to my father? And why is there hate? And why is there killing? So I was asking the big questions at the beginning of my life and didn't get many answers, but I enjoyed looking at the clouds and I still enjoy that now very much. And that's actually my meditation practice in the morning. I sit here on my sofa and I look at the clouds. It's very, very relaxing. So I really recommend that. And so, most people get what's known as a midlife crisis around about midlife. Like, I'm 46, so a lot of people start to just go, oh my God, what's it all about? Why am I here? Who am I? What am I doing? Oh, I hate my job. I hate my life. I hate myself. Just like an awakening of like, no, in every possible way. So different people deal with that in a different way. So I had that at the beginning of my life. So what I concluded, what I had to do, I've had that depression thing most of my life, mixed with trauma and mixed with grief, unresolved grief. And looking back now, I think that if somebody, because it's shadow, it's just like a dark cloud, or lots of dark clouds, or just sitting in a really dark room. So if somebody had explained to me, this has happened, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be happy sometimes, it's okay to enjoy yourself, it's okay to hate everyone, it's okay to hate God, it's okay, you know, just to normalize everything. If somebody had sat me down and of course, because I've learned to be my own soul guide, I do that to myself all the time. It's all right to be really angry, and it's all right to all these things that are not allowed. So if somebody had done that for me, I would be okay. I would have been okay with feeling really shit all the time, because someone would have validated, and this is what the adult in me would go back and hold my inner child and say, it's okay to feel completely crazy. Given what you've been through, that's actually quite normal. So let's be crazy together and let's hug. Yeah, so just normalizing everything. That's why I'm surrounded by teddy bears, and that's why I make teddy bears and dolls, because it's comfort. It's comfort. And so that's been my journey, to learn that the biggest challenge to that is social conditioning. So social conditioning teaches me to be what teachers want me to be, what my parents want me to be, what society wants me to be, what everybody else wants me to be, apart from what me want me to be. So there's a real thick layer of conditioning that is like a straitjacket. It's like a blindfold. It's like these gorgeous masks that everybody's wearing. It's binding because it's not allowing, and the key word is allowing. For me, the definition for love is allowing. Allow whatever is there, allow it to be there. Allow it to be there. So society, social conditioning, education, school, the media, what we get taught, the information that we get taught, cultural conditioning, being a woman, how we are supposed to be as little girls and women, sugar and spice and all things nice, not allowed to be angry, not allowed to be boisterous, all of these rules that are infringing on how I should be. So the key word there to look for is should, because the word should is causing harm. This word should causing harms rather than is. Like, anger is there, sadness is there, happiness is there. So then the biggest challenge to actually being free and to being how I need to be is conditioning. That's something to just really be aware of. And you know, the nicest thing ever that anyone's ever said to me, because I went public with my story, which is a very dark, sad story, and all my life I've been pretending to be okay, to be normal, to be, so that I don't stand out, because social conditioning again teaches don't stand out. You know, be one of the crowd, don't stand out, don't have a voice, don't be opinionated, lots of don'ts. Right. So forgot where I was going with that.
You were saying one of the nicest things someone said to you after.
Right, yeah. I'm so glad you're listening. Thank you. These guys are asleep. They've stopped listening. They're bored now. Where's our story? So the loveliest thing, that because going public was the scariest thing I've ever done. And it's like, well, I can't take that back. Like, there it is. There's my guts. There's all my pain. Everyone have a look. Mm-hmm. So, but something about the time felt right. And the loveliest comment that was so helpful to my heart was my friend left me a voicemail, and she said, Maria, darling, I hope that you are feeling whatever you need to feel. And that's just the most loving, accepting of what is, blessing. I hope you're feeling, rather than, I hope you're well, I hope this is a healing experience for you. I hope so, rather than assigning how I should, again, there's the word should, how I should feel, she communicated from the perspective of allowing. Allowing is the word of love, is the word for love. I hope that you are feeling whatever you need to feel. It's the most beautiful blessing.
Oh, that is so sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, because I just believe everything comes up in order to be felt and acknowledged and respected. So the best way to deal with feeling bad, because when we're feeling good, there's no problem. Feel good, enjoy that. Okay. But feeling bad, not allowed. Society says, culture says, everyone says, everything says, you're not allowed to feel bad. You're not allowed to be depressed. There's something wrong with you. You need to take some pills, la, 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 and quickly do whatever you do to feel better. Yeah. And so, but what if the thing that's feeling bad, okay, for now, he's not going to like this, but for now, imagine that he is representing anger, because anger is a really good illegal emotion. But it's not okay to be angry. Like, for example, hey, how are you doing? Really angry. Not socially acceptable, is it?
Right.
Not at all. So I believe that when I have had depression or felt really shit, as we say here in England, is when I have believed that it's not okay to feel the way that I feel. Because if I did believe and know that however I'm feeling is actually okay and normal, would I have such a problem with myself? I don't believe I would.
Right. That's a
I'm
good
not fighting. Not fighting against anything. Whatever is there is being allowed to be there. You can be there, stinky big pile of anger. Okay. And then the next step to that is to have a conversation with it. You go, well, I know he's cute, but imagine he's really scary, okay? So imagine this anger is knocking at the door, knocking at the door, knocking at the door, screaming louder and louder and louder and louder, and getting scarier and scarier and scarier because it's not being acknowledged, seen, or listened to. So deep down, it's actually a cute panda, but it's got this scary, angry disguise on. And all it was ever trying to do was bang, bang, bang on my door, my attention. And the more I ignore it, because I'm not allowed to feel bad feelings, the louder it gets. And then I ignore it so much that then what happens is it starts to get suppressed and really hidden. And then it just shuts up altogether. And that's when it's really deep. It just goes through different layers of depth. That's when it's really deep. So it's almost like having an inner child that's me, that's very, very sad or angry or unfavorable emotion that everybody wants to change and make better. And there's this little heart inside, this little voice that's just saying, listen to me, listen to me. And I'm just going, no, I'm being a grown up and everything's fine and I'm holding it down. And then it's going, but rah, rah, rah. And so the more I ignore it, I think that depression is when that just goes so quiet that it's no longer even known. Like it's like these orphan children that when they don't have any touch, they just die. They stop crying, don't they? The orphan children, when they don't receive any touch, they stop crying. So the tragedy of that is when there's no human attention, there's death. There's death of the heart, death of the soul. And the way to get that back is to let that very injured little animal that is the inner child or the heart, that very injured, very vulnerable being, know that I am seeing you and I want to hear from you, and you're important to me. Whatever you've got to say, even though it's shit scary and I can't sleep and I'm having night terrors, you're clearly trying to tell me something.
So I'm finding that a common theme in what you're saying is allowing yourself to feel, acknowledging the feelings that you have and validating those feelings. And then when you do those things, then you can address the issue.
Yeah.
So what does self-care look like to you? What are some of the things that you have done to help you when you've had those dark times, when it has been buried? How have you unburied it? What are some things that...
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, 6 years ago, so I think I discovered him in 2014 or 15, maybe 5-6 years ago, I used to hate myself. So all the bad things, so there was loads of them by then, 5 years ago, it's not very long ago, I used to blame myself for them. And this is another really common thing. So I would blame myself, go, it's all my fault. Like today, that seems like a ridiculous thought, but I honestly believe that, and I would blame myself. Then somebody told me about this American spiritual teacher called Matt Kahn, who teaches self-love. He's from Oregon or from Portland way. And I started watching his videos, and he teaches to put your hand on your heart and say, I love you. Yeah. Or whatever words work. So really speaking to that very distressed inner child, that very, very nearly dead being that has had no attention, has been starved, has been denied, has been suppressed, that one. And to just address it with love. So he calls it heart-centered teaching, being heart-centered. And just to find the words. So for example, I'm here with you now is one that really works for me. I'm here with you now. So cut a long story short, me and my husband discovered it, because before that I was crazy with depression. It was really bad. I actually had suicidal depression. It was horrible. But it's been up and down all my life. Sometimes I'm okay. I might be okay for a few months or a year. I've been very successful in my life. I've been very poor, very unsuccessful. You know, there's been loads and loads of peaks and stuff. But so the I love you and the teachings of Matt Kahn has totally changed my life. And that's taught me, because before then I did self-care. I've always been healthy, you know, sugar, really healthy food, exercise. I've always done the physical self-care, enough sleep, But then if I'm doing all these good things externally and I hate myself about everything, it's not really going to cut it, right? But then that true acceptance, not acceptance, because I don't like that word, because it doesn't work for me, but to honour and respect everything that is there as, okay, I'm here for you, whatever you're going through, to learn to talk to myself in this way. I'm here for you, I hear you, I love you, I care for you, I'm so sorry you feel so bad, I wish I could take it away. And we clearly can't, because we feel shit, you know, it's like me talking to myself. But how can I serve you? How can I love you more? How can I let you know that I really am here for you? Because that inner child is so devoid of any light, any love, any nourishment. But sometimes at first, just saying, I love you, I care for you, okay, yeah, it won't believe it. You know, so that's negative equity in the emotional bank account. It can take years to come to balance of zero, you know, even. So now over the years, I've come into good credit where no matter what, I can hold myself in love. I can do that. I don't completely flip and lose it. I can hold myself in love because I know that I matter. And really it's just about that emotional training of that self-care for me is just to whatever arises. He's written a book called Whatever Arises, love that. And just to do that. So check him out on YouTube. He's a real angel. Real angel. He's the one that's turned everything around for me. And I've met him. I went to his event last year. And then in terms of as well physical self-care, I listen to my heart, and I listen, like you were saying, spark and joy and stuff like that. I listen to talk to my inner child. You know, what do you want to do? What do you like? So I like to play music. I like to make dolls. 5 years ago, again, I started making dolls because I was so depressed. It was so bad. I wasn't able to work. I was a mess in every way. My health was terrible. And I've always liked sewing. I did fashion design, so a sewing machine. I've always just found it very, very healing, just the act of the needle going in and out of the fabric. Something about that's really magical. And I was talking to a friend once who loves to sew as well. She said sewing is like connecting heaven and earth. So you connect up the way heaven and earth, and you're connecting these telomeres, and that just felt very magical to me. And I used to have these sewing meetups with a friend of mine who was really into it when she lived here in Brighton, and she used to call it Crafternoon, and she used to come round some Saturday when she had time, and we'd just craft, and she'd bring a book and I'd get my fabric out, and we'd just make stuff. And one of these days she bought a little book that had patterns to make these really cute rabbits, you know, these like Hello Kitty, Miffy, really cute rabbits, upcycled out of old t-shirts and jumpers. So we made this rabbit each, and it was so healing because it was like, it's such inner child stuff. Like, people mock me for making dolls and bears. They do. They mock me. Oh, you must want your own children. No, I don't. My life's been so hard. I don't want a complication like a project like having a child. Seriously, no. I'm making the dolls or the bears for my inner child that didn't get a proper childhood first time around, so I'm making them for me now. So 5 years ago it started off. Then I got this amazing realization of, wait a minute, if I don't put the ears on it, make another one without the ears, and then I make hair, and then I do a face instead of like a rabbit face, surely that would be a doll. I said that to my friend. She went, I think so, maybe. So I did, and I made my first doll, and it was the most magic thing I've ever done, because it was like listening to my inner child and saying, I love you, I'm so sorry, it's been so shit. And what does that little girl want more than anything? So what do you want? How can I serve you? How can I love you more? How can I let you know that I love you? And she said, I want a doll. I want a doll. I want a dolly. So I made her one, and I've never stopped making dolls.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I love that. I love that you found something that lifts your spirits, and like a hobby, something to do. That's beautiful.
And crafting with your hands is really, I'm just going to get some dolls to show you because they're really funny. Doing something, self-care with your hands is really good because it just stops that crazy just for a moment. And it's mindfulness. Something that I'm concentrating on is really good. I'll just get some because they're real characters. These guys are hilarious. So yeah, as you've noticed, I absolutely love pandas. So that's Panda. Yeah. She's a bit down, actually. She's a bit down, but she's got crochet ears, and that's an old jumper. Sweater, you say, don't you? Sweater. Like Americans go, jumper, what jumper? What's that? Crochet arms. And this is actually my friend who's Muslim. So I made her with the headscarf. And she's really cute. And she's got this lovely dress on. She said, I don't like my doll, you've made me too fat. I said, dolls need to be fat because this is a cushion doll. So the whole point is it's like your little comfort in bed at night. Like sometimes I put lavender in them. And then these guys are just I've actually got too much light on, so you can't really see them, but these guys are just hanging out. So creating something physical for self-care is really lovely. Like you might like to do pottery or music or gardening, but something with the hands is very connecting to the earth. And that's really nice. Sometimes just talking about it or thinking about it's two heads. So anything that gets me into my body, dancing, walking, I always feel better if I've had a walk. When I feel horrible, I go for a walk, and it always works because the energy then starts to move. Oh, you're back.
I have a low battery. Let me just grab my charger. I apologize. Wasn't expecting you to phone, so.
Oh, that's okay.
As I'm grabbing my charger, do you have daily routines?
Nice house.
Oh, thank you. Do you have daily routines that you go through that kind of help you start your day off right?
Yeah, actually, I didn't until recently. I used to just get up and have a coffee and start work, and I just noticed that wasn't working. And I'd become a bit of a workaholic, which is just number one thing not to do. But I was talking to a therapist who's helping me at the moment, and she asked me to write down every day a diary. A journal's really, really good. I mean, I just make a few notes on my phone, just a few bullet points, but 3 gratitudes, 1 win, 1 challenge. And then I had to write down the morning routine. And that's when I thought, oh dear, my morning routine's that there isn't one. I just have a coffee and start working. That's no way to treat my inner child. So then I decided to, the question is, how do you spend the first hour of your day? So then I started just doing my looking at the clouds, meditating. I've recorded myself a kind audio recording with affirmations. Part of my happy hour in the morning is watching really lovely creative things that I really enjoy on Amazon Prime or on Netflix, like the fashion competitions like Project Runway, or sewing things, or art programs, or things that are creative. I give myself like half an hour of just something really fun. So it doesn't have to be like serious, like meditation or anything like that. I did that for many years and it didn't work for me. It's adding serious on top of serious, so it doesn't work. It's almost like you need the opposite energy. So something that makes the heart happy, something that's fun, something that my inner child would want to do. So in my morning routine, I look at the clouds for about half an hour, have a coffee. I might watch something nice, something creative, or do some learning, like I'm learning video editing, some tutorial video that's about something creative, or making something, or reading a book, reading a novel, but something that's for me. So that's my routine.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I feel like you've found what works for you. And I love that you say something for you, something that fills your cup, because we definitely can't turn and give when we don't have a full cup ourselves.
Completely.
Yes.
Completely.
So one of the things you said recently, I saw a Facebook post, is you said turning trauma into treasure. And I just love that. And what
Which is my friend's expression.
When I just became acquainted with you recently, what I noticed is just your inner happiness, your inner glow. And I just love that about you. And that's why I wanted to have you on as a guest, because I learned that you've been through so much, but you have been rising above. You've been sharing and helping other people. And that's
thank you.
good.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Now that brings me to, what is your line of work? You told me at one time that you are, you've made it your business to have positive self-talk, to teach people good things about themselves, and to let go of lies and to speak truth, correct? So
wow. Yeah.
Share with us your line of work. What do you do?
Wow, that's such a lovely blessing. Thank you so much. I was very moved by that. Thank you very much. So I've been, because of what happened, I always was trying to grab and find any which way to help myself not feel so awful. So from being very young, like 19, I learned meditation and spiritual practices, some of which are good, some of which are really not good. So listen to your heart with that. So for example, anything that doesn't feel good is not true for me. Doesn't matter what other people think. So just take what makes you feel good. So then I've been learning and teaching mindfulness, meditation, personal development as I've been learning it myself. I've been teaching it. So I've been facilitating groups for about 25 years. I've been doing all different sorts of work. I used to be a web designer, graphic designer, and I've done some fashion design, although not commercially. But then for a good stint of time, I did leadership facilitation. Leadership facilitation is exactly that. It's personal development, but for work. So it's how to make groups essentially less toxic and how to stop people bullying each other, essentially. So it's the same toxic dynamic that happens in the home that then goes to work. Big, bad, scary monsters. And people suffer. But the teaching and the workaround and the resolution and the balancing of that is the same. The more I am kind to myself, the more I'm going to treat others with respect. It's an inside job, which is why it's the happiness from within. And so another thing with listening and coaching and guidance work and all that kind of thing, a big component is listening, which you, by the way, have incredible listening skills.
Thank you.
Super, top marks. Great job. So because I'm genuinely fascinated by people, I'm genuinely really curious and fascinated. Even if something, I don't agree with it, I'm still really interested in it, like a sniffer dog. So I'm naturally very good at interviewing and holding space for people to explore, because I'm also interested and I'm exploring. And so, interestingly enough, the Shahida, who runs the Happiness from the Inside group, she has a charity. That's why this is the Shahida doll. She has a charity in Bangladesh, her native Bangladesh, because we both have that in common. She came to England when she was 5 and I came when I was 6. And so I was just, again, curious to find out more about her charity. So I did an interview podcast back in March or February, whenever it was, probably March. Tell me all about it. And so she did. But then she opened up and actually talked all about depression and how bad it's been. And that the idea for the charity came in out of the darkest times that she'd experienced. She wanted to help people, and that helped her to crawl out of her depression. So it's really interesting that it's connected. And then she said to me, Maria, that podcast was so amazing. You listened to me so deeply. I've been interviewed many times before, and I've never felt loved like that before. I've never felt heard before, and I've never opened up like that before, because you can only open up if there's good water and good sunshine, like a flower. You can't open up if there's tension, like they're just waiting to ask their next question or interrupt. So, cut a long story short, she said, Maria, you need to do this for a living. I don't know what you're doing now, but do this because you were born to do this, to interview people. So I did. I did. She said, this for you is like breathing. And I thought, wow, you're right. It is like breathing. Talking and listening for me is like breathing. It's not like work. So then I started doing video interviews in order to promote people's businesses, because the game of being here is I have to be here on the earth. I have to pay to live. Unless I'm from a wealthy family, unless I have enough resources, most of us have to pay our way. So the game is, well, ideally do something that I enjoy and get paid for it. And the bigger game is I need to pay my expenses, and then ideally the bigger game, have some left over, and cherry on the cake, icing, I need to ideally enjoy it. And that's the balance, because I've done lots of different jobs that I really haven't enjoyed, and I've sold out on myself, more depression. But what do? You have to make a living, you have to pay the bills. That's the conflict a lot of us find ourselves in. So I did that. I started, so the game is be myself authentically, do what I love. Forget about the authentic thing. That's a journey. Do what I love and get paid for it, earn a living. That's the game, ideally, of being here. To simplify being here, find out what I like, do that, get paid for it, all good. Yeah, quid in. Yeah, that's the game. In order to achieve that game, you need marketing. Marketing that's effective. Now, I believe marketing in general is not very effective, because everybody says it's the best, it's prime, it's all glossy, it's all perfect. And I don't know if you'd noticed, but life isn't like that. You know, there's 100 triggers in the day, there's 100 upsets, there's ups and there's downs. You know, life isn't that glossy perfect image. So I've always believed if marketing is done a bit more authentically, like we are, then the people that resonate with you, the people that get you, will get you, and they'll buy from you, whatever you're selling. You could be selling coaching, you could be selling dolls, you could be selling Amway or Forever Living products. But really, I believe that people are just buying you, the you behind your business or your product or your service. And because I've worked in corporates, what they do is they create brand values and they pick aspirational, we're empowering and da-da-da. But actually, if the people that run the company and the way that the customer interacts with the supplier of the company isn't resonant with those aspirational, amazing, we're so brilliant, perfect, and empowering, and we believe in excellence, like everyone says that, because everyone's saying that, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything. But my brand value is vulnerability and not perfect. So that's more real. And so my brand of marketing is authentic marketing. And so I've done these promotional videos for people that are intended to showcase the person behind the business, because that's what I believe people are really buying. And they've been quite successful. And I, for once in my life, absolutely love my job.
Oh, I love that.
Because I love praising people, and I love bringing out the best in people. And I've tried out most of these services and products as well. And I just think since the pandemic, we call it the lockdown, the customers just got more discerning, and everyday people are more discerning as to how I spend my less available money. So surely I'm going to spend that less available money on something that I really resonate with and believe in. So like Simon Sinek says on his leadership talk on purpose and your why, people buy what you believe. You know, so if we're talking about authentically, and lots of people, like a very good politician, will give all these perfect words and perfect discourses, and we believe in equality and we believe all these good things. But one thing is saying that, but you are only the sum total of your actions, not your words. So if we really get to know a person by having a conversation with them and actually seeing them as well on the interview, on the video, you get to really feel the person by looking at their face. That's real intimacy, and by hearing the tone of voice. So I believe that I don't need to really even sell anything, because who I am being will either connect with you or it won't. And if it connects with you, then you might be interested in this service or that, just letting you know I'm selling this and I'm offering that. And then it's more organic. That's how we would talk as friends, and that's how things would happen organically. So I'm putting that theory to the test, and so far it does work. People do get to know the person. They go, oh, I never knew that you had depression. I never knew that you did this or that, and I never knew that that's why you do what you do. But why you do what you do is the most exciting, amazing adventure. you know, and then you get enrolled. Like, I don't know about you, but I go business networking, and everyone's a coach, or everyone sells Forever Living. You know, everyone's doing the same thing, but not everybody is you. Nobody's you. Only you are you. So it doesn't matter if there's 10 coaches. No one's going to coach like you. No one's got your compassion. No one's got your stillness. No one's got your listening. No one's you. You're you. And that's such a beautiful thing. That's such a beautiful thing to sing about, to praise, to celebrate, to shout about. So I just think, well, if we show up as ourselves, that's the most sacred, amazing, miraculous thing ever. And then the rest organically will flow, and it does.
That is so awesome. And I love that it was your friend who pointed it out to you.
Who's from your group that you met? Yeah, that's really funny, like the synchronicity of that. But ideally the game is to be in alignment and fulfilled, because there's another American amazing spiritual teacher called Caroline Myss, who talks about sacred archetypes. And she talks about doing a job that you hate just for the money is the prostitution archetype. You know, I hate it, just think of the money. No, but I hate it. No, but it's hurting me. No, but I'm getting depressed. But just think of the money. So ideally, the game is to move from that scale into the scale of doing something from the heart, you know. And it means making choices, and it means having boundaries and honouring your values. But I think if everything is honoured, then that does bring in more light.
So good. I'm so glad I'm recording this. I've got to go back and listen to it.
I took ages to. So I'm an enabler of people's greatness, and that looks like, okay, doing better with their business and selling more of whatever they're selling. But ultimately, really, my real work is to let people know that they're already perfect, and to just go on that journey of the soul, because that's the journey that I've been on. And I just think, well, if only you knew how perfect you really were, you know, your life might look really different, and the way you talk to yourself might look really different. But the way that is offered, and the way that journey is given, has to make sense to the person. Because, yay, you're amazing, just do it, just go for it. How about F off? Do you know what I mean? It's got to be real.
Yeah, it is true.
Be real.
And I love that.
If I just said, well, you're amazing. Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you were saying.
Oh, yes. I was just going to say, I love that you're pointing out that we already have everything within us. We're perfectly perfect the way we are. And we have things, of course, we have desires to work on, to improve on, but all those things are already within us, and you're just helping people unlock that. And that is so awesome. That is so good.
And then another thing that's really important is to be that myself, because I've had so many teachers that are just sitting on their pedestal, just going, we have to be peaceful, we have to be kind, da, da, da. And they're just looking like this perfect angel that never gets angry, that never has period pains, that never has a bad day, right? That's never poor. And I just think, for me, I need to relate to the person who is sharing information. And I think that's really important, because that creates trust.
So true.
Like life isn't great. It's really hard to be here. It's very hard to be here. And I just think, let's just get that straight to start with, and then we can relax a bit. Okay? If we can all agree it's actually really hard to be here, then we can just relax, take a deep breath, and then go, okay. And then more joy comes when you name something as it is.
So true. Good point. Well, I have loved having you on today, and I wish we had more time. I feel like there's so much that I could learn from you.
Oh, bless you.
Just sharing.
Sorry, I've spoken so much. I've not given you a chance to say anything.
This is what it's for, to hear your story and to hear how you can help and gleaning from you. So would you mind just before we close, any last tips or advice you have for people in a depressive community, or maybe people that care for some loved ones that are depressed? What's a piece of advice you might share?
Put yourself first. Like, again, that goes against social conditioning, and it's really hard. It's really hard, but listen to your heart. And if something feels really painful, and if something doesn't feel right, even though I should be looking after that, or even though I should be doing this, or even though I should, just tell the truth to yourself about yourself, and really honor and really listen to that, even if it goes against everything else, because that's the golden key. And it's hard because of social conditioning, and that's always the one to be aware of.
Right.
Put yourself first, and that always opens a door, then it opens another door. It might not look right at all. I'll give you an example. I do security work sometimes, and the last few times I've done security work, it's freaked me out that everyone's wearing masks. Like, it's given me anxiety. So yesterday I wrote to the 2 agencies and I said, due to everybody wearing masks, this is giving me social anxiety, and I'm really sorry. I'm not available to do any more work until the masks go away. And that's me putting myself first, because I could just go, think of the money.
Right.
No one's got work at the moment. Take all the work you can get. And my heart says don't. And I care more about my heart, because I know that if I say no to something that doesn't feel right to me, then that's going to open the door to more good. But that's a question of faith.
Yes.
Have faith.
Thank you.
Be led by the good feeling. If something feels horrible, then really respect that, really listen to that, because that's your inner guidance, and that's your inner angel that just knows. Right.
We've all been given that light within us to show us the way. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your story, for sharing. I know that that's been a big part of your life, and to have just shared it last week publicly and then to come and share it with us. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
You are just
making waves. Thank you. I had to be really brave, actually. I was quite anxious about this, but I just thought, just be yourself. You can't go wrong. So my theory thus far has been proved correctly. So, but yeah. One more little thing, like everybody says, just be yourself, you'll be fine. That job interview that day, you're fine, just be yourself. I believe nobody really knows who they really are, because I've been taught and conditioned to be what other people and what other organizations want me to be. So the journey back home to the light is to ask myself, what do you like? What should we do? What book shall we read? And so that's all the good. That's all the good stuff. Hand on your heart.
That's so true. I'm going to look him up. I'm going to learn about him and this heart-centered theory and method.
You're going to laugh.
Good. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a lovely night. Enjoy the time. I hope that the lockdown improves for you in England.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Good. I hope that it's all, well, I know it will all be okay in America too. Yes. There's lots of good angels doing good work there.
There are. Thank you. Well, take care, Maria. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful blessings.
Bye-bye.
Bye.